Hello, and welcome to the Phantom Files. In this podcast, we will be delving deep into the mysterious and often unspoken aspects of our world. I'm your host, Frost, and today we're going to pull back the curtain on a fascinating topic that straddles the boundary between science fiction and reality. The CIA's Gateway Project. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, the Gateway Project was a program run by the US Central Intelligence Agency, examining theories of consciousness and the human mind. The project was part of the CIA's exploration into parapsychology and mind-related phenomena, which included remote viewing and other psychic phenomena. So grab your conspiracy theory hat, sit back, and let's journey together into the world of the unknown. Before we delve into the Gateway Project, let's first understand the historical context. The Cold War era was a time of intense scientific competition, which both the United States and the Soviet Union investing heavily in research and development. The mind became a new battlefield. Reports began emerging that the Soviets were experimenting with psychic phenomena and mind control. This sparked concern and intrigue within the US intelligence community. What if these reports were true? Could the United States afford to be left behind this new frontier? This led to the creation of various programs focused on exploring these possibilities, one of which was the Stargate project, under which the Gateway Project was born. So, what exactly was the Gateway Project, and what is exactly the Gateway process? It was a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, and coherence to the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output between the left and the right hemispheres, so as to alter consciousness, moving it outside the physical spheres, so as to ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space. It aimed to induce a state of expanded consciousness that was conducive to programming the mind for rapid, dramatic improvements in performance and, in particular, perception. The basis of the Gateway process was a theory that the universe is a hologram. Now, this might sound like a stretch, but it's a scientific hypothesis called the holographic principle. The idea here that our three-dimensional reality is a projection of information stored on a distant two-dimensional surface. The Gateway process took this concept a step further, suggesting that through specific techniques, humans could access this information directly, allowing for extraordinary abilities, such as remote viewing, the ability to perceive places, people, and actions that were not within the range of the senses. The techniques used in the Gateway process included things like hypnosis, transcendental meditation, biofeedback, and other methods intended to induce a deep state of relaxation and alter the brain waves activity. The goal was to reach a state where the mind could perceive without the interference of the body or the limits of the physical world. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Gateway process was the so-called hemisync technology. This was a patented audio technology used to synchronize the two hemispheres of the brain, hence the name, hemisync. It intended to create a frequency following response, which refers to the brain's tendency to mirror the frequency of a dominant external stimulus. Simplified, when you listen to a sound with a certain frequency, your brain waves will try to mimic this frequency. It's like when you tap your foot to the beat of the music. But it's the brain that does the tapping. The theory is that by synchronizing both hemispheres of your brain, you can achieve altered states of consciousness. The Monroe Institute, founded by Robert Monroe, was instrumental in developing hemisync technology. Monroe himself was a pioneer in the investigation of out-of-body experiences, which were a significant component of the gateway method. So, what's the end goal of the gateway method? Well, according to the CIA's documents, the final stage is referred to as Focus 21, the state of consciousness where users were expected to move beyond the confines of space-time as we understand it. In this state, it was theorized that a person could perceive anything, anywhere, at any time. They could look into the past or the future, connect with other consciousness, or even encounter non-physical entities. It's a concept that pushes the boundaries of our conventional understanding of reality. Now I know what you're thinking. How much of this is scientifically validated? Well, the jury is still out on that. While there is some scientific research supporting the idea that meditation and similar techniques can alter brain activity and even consciousness, the more extraordinary claims of the gateway process are yet to be verified. It's also important to consider the context in which these programs were developed. This was the Cold War era, a time of intense competition and fear. There was a sense of urgency to explore every possible advantage, no matter how outlandish it may have seemed. And let's not forget the CIA's track record with covert and ethically dubious experiments, like the infamous MK-Ultra program, in which unsuspecting subjects were subjected to mind control experiments. This adds another layer of complexity and controversy to the discussion. As we dive back into our discussion on the Gateway Project, let's explore some of the real-world applications of this mind-bending project. Remote viewing was one of the main applications that the CIA was interested in. The idea was that trained individuals could use their minds to perceive information remotely, which would obviously have immense implications for intelligence gathering. One famous example of remote viewing is the case of Ingo Swann, a psychic who claimed to have remote viewed Jupiter before the Pioneer 10 flyby in 1973. He reported seeing a ring around the planet, a detail that was later confirmed by the spacecraft. But for every success story, there were many more failures. The program's results were inconsistent and lacked the rigor and reliability required for conclusive scientific validation. The Gateway Project, along with other programs exploring psychic phenomena, faced criticism from skeptics and scientists who argued that the results could be attributed to chance statistical anomalies or even the power of suggestion. Ultimately, the Gateway Project and similar programs were discontinued by the early 1990s. The scientific community, as well as the intelligence community, shifted their focus to more conventional and evidence based methods of gathering information. However, the legacy of the Gateway Project still lingers. It continues to capture the imagination of conspiracy theorists, skeptics, and those fascinated by the untapped potential of the human mind. The idea of exploring consciousness and its connection to the fabric of the universe remains a captivating topic. In conclusion, the Gateway Project was a product of its time, born out of intense competition and paranoia of the Cold War era. It aimed to explore the limits of human consciousness and the possibility of accessing information beyond the constraints of time and space. While the scientific validity of the Gateway's project's claims remains questionable, it serves as a reminder of the human fascination of the unknown and our relentless pursuit of understanding the mysteries of our existence. That's all for today's episode of Phantom Files. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the CIA's Gateway Project. Remember, the world is full of enigmatic stories waiting to be unraveled. If you have any suggestions for future episodes or topics you'd like us to explore, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and never stop seeking the truth. Thank you for joining me today. This is your host, Frost, signing off.